Well, good evening. When Peter Bennett rang and said would he give me, Peter Bennett said he would give me 5 minutes to say something of the football of the history of the year of 1945 into the 60s or so. 5 minutes, and I just noticed that he went for 20 and he gave his brother another 5 on that. When Jeff Mann called at home a couple of weeks ago, and knowing we'd be catching up this evening, he asked me about the football of that time. Most of the week I have been reminiscing, and I'm sorry, Therese, that you have to hear it all again. My memories of the late 40s and 50s were mostly of being a ball boy for Dunedoo. I would go out onto the field with a bucket of sand for the goal kicker, and these footballers looked so big and so fast. Sometimes I got to carry that magic water for the Zambuck, now known as the paramedic. And it always seemed to me as a ball boy that there was always seems to be large crowds around the ground. And Dunedoo had players, and Cyril Miller's been mentioned earlier. But I don't know, he always had a joke to tell you, and he told you what his career was to be. But you would say to Cyril, or somebody would say to him, "Where do you live?" And he said, "I live in Tough Street, Dunedoo." Tough Street. And he said, "What number do you live, or where do you live in Tough Street?" And he would say, "I live at the right at the very end," because he said the tougher you go along, the more you go along the street, the tougher you get. And I lived in the last house. And I think he displayed that in his football. So as you say, Stephen is here this evening. But the locals, like the Corish brothers, Barry Evans, Peter Atwood, the Piper brothers, Leon Frank Healy, Colin Fitzgerald, Ernie Rookyard, Terry O'Brien, Hilton Ewan, Harry Milson, Tom Lane, Barry Moore, the goal kicker, and Ken and Jim Burns, and the Stanbury brothers, and Neville Fraser, and there's many other names that you'll be familiar as you peruse the auditorium display. Into the early 60s, Dunedoo signed on several first grade coaches. There was Neville Allen, Bill Sullivan, Terry Dixon, Ray Dawson, Brian Scanlon, and of course Bernie Seymour. And I would also like to acknowledge Norm Barr, who's here as well, because Norm came in the later part of the 60s. Two paid players that I recall of the 60s were Bob Lancaster and Ted Archibald. And with Ted only having one eye, you had to be on his good side to pass or receive the ball. Jeff asked what standard of football was played in Group 14 in the 60s. And I believe the level of football moved up a notch when Bob Hanson coached Cooler and George Hollywood Green coached Coonabarabran. Bob the tactician played at 5'8", and George, tall and flamboyant, and hence the name Hollywood, played in the lock position. Now, just a few brief memories I'd just like to include. For myself, playing on the wing in the 1967 Grand Final, And then one Sunday, playing at Canamble, a player, probably Ray Hyde, was giving me a rough up. When Eugene came in to my assistance, he helped me, however, Eugene got sent off, not me. My size certainly didn't allow me to take part in any punch-ups. So after 60 years, Eugene, please accept my apology for you forbidding sending off. Is that okay? There was another incident too, another brief little memory, just a couple of liners from here on in. The night the washing disappeared from the line of the nurses' quarters. And I suppose the embarrassing moment for me was missing a goal right in front of the posts. We would have Rolly Norris, the Zambuck, putting smelling salts under your nose to bring you back from a mild concussion. And lastly there, Lynn McAvoy-Knott always did a great job covering the games in her column as Scene Green for the Mudgee Guardian. And I'm sure there'll be many stories will be told here tonight. But finally, I'd like to acknowledge Dad, Tom Sullivan, for his contribution to the club. And with others, the establishment of the Robinson Oval in the 40s. And also to our late brother, John, who went from ball boy to a player to president of the club. Dad and Mum really encouraged all of us to play football, even in the lounge room. So to finish off, I thank Therese as a footballer's wife for her support. Her only request when going to games with 4 little girls was to park near the toilets. So needless to say, I gave up football for netball. Thank you.